Warning.
Watch very closely now. 3, 2, 1. Bzow! Check that out.
The following podcast features terrible jokes.
You know you can use Hot Wheels cars when you need to make a saving throw in D&D? Every car is die-cast.
Usually about board games.
We want the fun. Gotta have that fun.
Must insist that no one attempt to recreate any joke performed on this podcast.
We had less technical issues than $1 million company.
All right!
This is Boards and Swords.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Boards and Swords. This is a podcast where we feature bad jokes, good folks, and some tabletop games. And we have another plethora of people here for you today. First off, all the way on the other side of that screen, it's Mr. Philip Herbig.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
And then, lastly, we got some all the way from England here. We have Mr. Ronnie from Mantic Games, and you're the CEO or COO. Which one is it?
Whichever you want. I just turn up and fumble my way through, and nothing I say happens anyway. So it really doesn't matter what the title is.
People will be like, "Oh, that's too expensive."
Yeah, well, you definitely can't say that.
So what is Mantic Games for someone that has never heard of Mantic before?
Okay, I think born out of a love of tabletop games. We thought the big guys were just getting a little bit too one-dimensional, and we kind of fancy doing licenses with board games. So we did The Walking Dead, we did Hellboy. We kind of love a bit of rank and flank fantasy wargaming, so we made Kings of War. And we kind of love a good old sci-fi skirmish, but not dirty and dingy, in a kind of clean and fantasy sci-fi setting. So we've got Dead Zone, which is it's a skirmish game, but properly set in terrain. So it's a very urban landscape. You can play it, and you play it in the third dimension. It's got multiple levels, so you can jump from level to level, and Firefight, which is a very slick, clean sci-fi war game. So yeah, kind of some of our own things that are developing and growing and doing well, and then we dip in and pick licenses up that we think are exciting and cool, and bring those to the tabletop. So a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B.
And in fact, we just had talked, I want to say like a month ago, and when the news came out of UK Gaming Expo about Worms, the board game. So we're going to get all the way back to talking about that here, but first we got a few news stories like we usually do.
Excellent.
News.
All right. So, first up, if Attila the Hun was a cannibal, would that make him hungry? Philip, is that you just because you don't have the soundboard up working?
I don't have a sound.
All right, so remember when back there I talked about how much I love April Fool's Day pranks, and there was the Fantasy Flight one for how you could play as the Blob, and if you had drew your weakness, you had to eat the game.
Oh,
do you remember that, Philip?
I do not.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I saw the not hyperlink headline play as the Blob, and my immediate thought was X-Men.
Gotcha. So, but they finally showed off what they're going to be doing for their Arkham Horror LCG. They usually have like a big multiplayer event at Gen Con, and they showed off what it's going to be this year. It was great because I actually was able to get a ticket this year. They usually sell out really quickly. The Blob that ate everything else. So the subject that they came up, or the investigator that they came up with, was Subject 8L/08 was the Blob. So they've got a story here about how it mutated and created an offspring that actually is somewhat human, and they called it like 5U-21 or Susie. And so they showed off that you actually, and this is legit, they're printing these cards that you can make. You will play as the Blob. During each upkeep phase, you draw an additional card and devour a non-weakness player card in your hand. And as you devour more cards, your stats go up. But if you get if stuff goes wrong, you get the uncontrolled hunger. In which case, at each turn you have to devour cards that are underneath what you've discarded already, and so you're getting weaker and weaker, and then you finally like reset back to normal. And then when you instead of a card, like when you devour them normally, they go in underneath you. That's to show how you get like bonuses. But here, when you devour here, they get like removed out of play. So some really cool actions here. In fact, there's even the weakness is reality acid, where you reveal a random chaos token and consult the reality acid reference card to determine what you devoured. And it's things like, it could be a good thing, like a non-elite enemy, but it could also be like the top of each investigator's discard pile or the top card of each investigator's deck. So it's just like crazy chaos that's just kind of like right up my alley.
I'm digging it.
So lots of fun. I love this. I love this game. So I had to talk about this, and I'm excited that I actually get a chance to play this event at Gen Con, which is only in like a week and a half.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, next up. If your RPG players expect you to have a railroaded adventure, does that mean they are well trained?
Oh, that was a little better.
So Chaosium announces they're going to have Horror on the Orient Express board game adaptation. So I'm sure a lot of people, especially if you've been gamers for a while, have played or heard of maybe the adventure Horror on the Orient Express. Apparently, it's one of the most famous Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing games. Well, now they're going to be making it into a board game. It's going to be a cooperative board game designed by Adam Kopinski, known for Nemesis and Frostpunk. And then the mind behind Destinies. It puts players in the shoes of investigators tasked with surviving on the ill-fated train. Winning the game requires not only the detection and elimination of cultists performing a gruesome ritual, but also ensuring that the train reaches its destination safely. As they face perils, the objective is to avert the horrors of the dreamlands and prevent catastrophe. They're also going to have a prototype at Gen Con this year. I didn't intend for both the first stories to be Cthulhu-based, but that's just the way it rolled.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this and like, are we gonna do we weave in elements of Murder on the Orient Express?
Oh yeah, like the movie.
Yeah, like do we weave in some of the characters as like
I don't know
random
what
background
I don't know what the
NPCs?
history is behind that and the movie. I want to say the movie probably is older, like the original. I know they've made remakes and stuff.
Yeah.
So, hey, Ronnie, have you ever played Call of Cthulhu at all?
Yeah, back in probably the early 90s. My cousin Stephen took me on a. I didn't last very long. I went mad as a fish, shot everything, There we go. But it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Gumshoe kind of character and plowed through. He'd got the adventures, so it was a good. I remember early days did that from Traveller, a few different RPGs. Really enjoyable.
I wonder because I've seen a lot of just in my casual what am I looking for? Reference or just observations. That's the word I was looking for. That it does seem to be more popular over in the UK than it is here.
Cthulhu.
The Call of Cthulhu game, because a lot of the people that I've seen playing it were UK based at some point.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I would have guessed it's much bigger in the US than it is over here, but it kind of I think it peaked there was a hint of Americana about it. There was the kind of tongue-in-cheek horror about it. There was a degree of comedy that I think appeals to the English psyche. So, I mean, certainly, most I think I would say probably in terms of being known, it's probably the second most known RPG after obviously the big one after D&D.
Right.
But I think the step off between one and the other is pretty huge. But yeah, back in the day, it was certainly popular. I don't get time for RPGs these days. So
I can imagine.
My last Orient to Cthulhu was 30 years ago. 30, 90, Yes. Anyway, let's move swiftly on from that. Shall we?
Also, Rusty Beetle notes that the movies are based on the Agatha Christie novel, so that was probably the origin. I would almost imagine that novel probably spawned the original adventure as well.
So. Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, I think it all started. Murder on the Orient Express would be the starting point, wouldn't it? And then turn into Horror on the Orient Express.
Awesome. And by the way, if you guys have questions for Ronnie for us to ask later, like Rusty Beetle's already been posting them in there. Once we get through the news and into talking with him about Mantic Games, we will be getting to some of those questions. So feel free to drop those in. All right, moving on. So there's a new boating retailer nearby, and I decided to go check them out. Their prices are really high, but they have great sales.
Oh, that one was decent.
So there's a new RPG getting crowdfunded. Swashbuckling surreal sci-fi RPG terminal is Matrix by the way of Black Sails with a dash of Twin Peaks. So just like sprinkling in like all your indie sci-fi genres in there. Crosses the reality-bending sci-fi of The Matrix with swashbuckling action of pirate series Black Sails with a bit of dreamlight Lynchian surrealism sprinkled on top. Effectively takes the still brilliant premise of The Matrix in that the Earth's inhabitants are unknowingly living inside a computer simulation, but swaps the flying ships seen in The Matrix really real world for pirate ships sailing the seas. Players take control of these pirates as they swap between battling machines on the waves and plugging back into the simulation known as the terminal in order to defeat the system's agents and architects and awaken other unwitting humans from their virtual confinement. So, uses pools of 6-sided dice modified by a character's equipment, and let's see, it's going to launch. So, this crowdfunding's already started. So yeah, the crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter. What do you think, Philip?
I'm liking the idea. I'm just see when they said The Matrix, I've got like Morpheus with a peg leg and a pirate hat.
Arr, Neo. The Oracle be telling me you're the one.
You think that's water you're swimming in?
Okay, moving on. I got this one's just for you, Philip. When you play a Star Wars game by yourself, are you soloing it? And then I've just broken the fourth wall, nerds, because that was a Star Wars joke in reference to a Star Trek book coming out. So, Morpheus Entertainment announces Captain's Log, solo role-playing game in Star Trek universe. So it's going to be using their Star Trek Adventures game system to now enable players to write their own Captain's Log as they explore the cosmos. Aptly named the Captain's Log solo role-playing game, this new edition propels the beloved brand into the world of solo role-playing. I just saw Rusted Beetles
writing a book.
This is Rusted Beetles' Mr. Arderson.
Mr. Arderson.
It's a standalone digest rule book that employs the award-winning 2D20 system used in the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game to create a streamlined gaming experience. I mean, you're not wrong.
Writing a book.
It is. Or, like short stories, but in a way that also like gets you used to, like if it's using the 2D20 system, then, you're like learning to play the game as you're doing this.
I would say this is a more effective way of writing a book just because like you come to a writer's block and you're just like 2D20. All right, 14.
Yeah, exactly.
The planet exploded. Well, damn. All right, fine.
Yeah. Or this could be good background stuff for you to do in between to help make your RPGs more immersive. You could make up some of these, and then you have some character that's not just some random NPC that you came up with off the top of your head. You've actually developed story and lore behind them. Your players won't care, but it'll probably make it more. It'll make it look better or roll better. But what do you think, Philip? Are you going to get this book?
I don't know. We haven't. like we haven't put this on the table since you guys helped me prepare for Gen Con that one year.
Well, we did record the Dirtbags for it, but that was probably the last time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I don't know. I've got a lot of stuff I'm not playing right now. Add more to the table. Add more to that pile.
Yeah, but this you could play by yourself.
That's right. I could.
Unless you could not play by yourself.
Ah, there we go. See? Yeah, I could not play it by myself. There we go.
So what I'm hearing is we need to play more Star Trek Adventures.
Okay. Right-click new window, add to cart. All right, fine.
Have you seen that they're making a Lower Decks campaign book as well? Or
I
setting
did see
book?
that. I did see that. That looks interesting.
By the way, I got to talk in the bonus bits about Lower Decks when we get there.
Okay.
All right, last story. I hope you'll let me get away with another Magic the Gathering story.
That was a stretch.
Yeah, I know. But I had to, like, the last story's always been Magic the Gathering for the past couple weeks. So now that we've gotten past Lord of the Rings and people finding the One Ring in Lord of the Rings, well, now everyone's like, okay, what's next? And what's next is Doctor Who. So Doctor Who set reveals cards for the 10th Doctor, TARDIS, and Daleks, plus all sorts of other stuff, fish fingers and custard, etc., etc. These cards look great, by the way. Like, you got your Planescape cards, but they also have, like, like if you're playing the Planescape stuff, but you've even got, like, the Doctor's Tomb and the TARDIS Bay. But then you keep scrolling. There's a Saga card that's based after the Parting of the Ways, which is where Parting of the Ways is the series in Doctor Who where it goes from the 9th to the 10th Doctor. That kind of the last song of that first season of the new season. So that's cool. And then you start getting into, where is it? Ah, here we go. I knew that this story had the actual, like you got the actual TARDIS card, which has like a better, or like an even TARDIS border. Although it looks like there's also going to be a standard Magic card looking one for the TARDIS. And then
Okay, I see. Yeah.
yeah, and then you've got like the 10th Doctor that's also got that same kind of TARDIS-y border. And then you've got the regular 10th Doctor card. And see, you've got, like, of course, it's got time travel mechanics that they've done before in other sets, but now they're coming out of here. Like, I love this. This is great. And like,
I like the untardist 10th Doctor card.
Oh yeah. I don't like this 10th Doctor card so much, but I do like this one. Looks like it's more from a photo than it is like a piece of artwork.
Yeah.
So
what's the Doctor Who equivalent of the One Ring?
Probably this exclusive TARDIS card. Maybe, I don't know. I know that they're having different sets in the Commander sets, so I'm sure that some of them.
I'm thinking he's asking in universe.
Oh, in universe? I don't know.
Yeah.
The one, the sonic screwdriver? I don't know.
Rivers sonic screwdriver?
Use
the red mode. It doesn't have a red mode.
Oh, like here's your you got your Dalek Exterminate card.
Ooh.
So check this out. Exterminate, you replicate it by tapping an untapped Dalek. So if you've got multiple Daleks out there, you just tap all of them and it just keeps happening.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then they got like the fish fingers and custard here. Yeah, there's your Dalek token. So yeah, if it's a token, that means you can like spawn. The decks probably have it so you can spawn a bunch of these. So then you throw down that exterminate, like, oh, I'm just gonna destroy random creatures all over the place, and you're dead.
Attach that to get it like this. This card is a sliver as well as its type.
Oh my god!
And now all slivers are Daleks.
Oh yeah, Rusted Beetle's talking about the Doctor Who equivalent of the One Ring is like the Matrix. That's like the big largest source of power in Doctor Who. It's a thing, and I think it's what in the older shows. I think they changed it up. In the older seasons, it was what powered the TARDIS, I think. I could be wrong on that. All right. So, and then that's the breaks. That's all the news I got for you. Hey, Philip, guess what?
All the news we've got. What's that, Chris?
Tell people why they should back our Patreon, because I've got goodies.
Why you should back our Patreon? Well, what you're going to do, folks, you're going to go to patreon.com/boardsandswords or boardandswords.com/Patreon, whichever link you start typing in. That'll get you to our Patreon, where for $1 a month, folks, for $1 a month, all right, that's the upcharge of a large drink instead of a medium drink one time. All right, you get access to special channels in the Discord. All right, if you want to have access to our Discord, you can just do that right now. We've got some great stuff in there, but there are some special hidden channels that only patrons get access to, and that's just at the $1 level. Okay, you upgrade a little bit and you get awesome horrible dad jokes from Chris about your favorite games. You get some special D6s that we send out every few years when we get a nice, I mean, you don't want to get one die a year, you send out a handful, that way you can be like Chris with his rogue and sneak attack and just lob a handful of dice on the table. And then
it says it's out of stock.
You already bought it though, right?
No, I hadn't.
I'm going to throw stuff at you.
But I was gonna already look for this at Gen Con, so
throw stuff at you. All right, and then like you see on the screen, all right, when we hit the magic $50 a month level, the Boards and Swords will do a live play of Love Mutants of Castle Heartache, which I know you're looking at that cover and you're like, man, who was the awesome model for that cover? It was me. Okay. I am the bald red one. I'm not the green with the hair. All right. If there was any confusion I am the bald red beard, not the green with the hair. But yeah, that's our Patreon. There's a lot of good stuff on there. You get you have all this we have a catalog.
Hey Philip, speaking of catalog, I forgot to do this last time, but I've started clipping short bits out of the bonus bits to let people know what they're missing.
That's right.
It's got great smell too. That laser cut wood. I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, there are smells like you crack, like we're going to be talking D&D stuff. Like you you ever smelled like a D&D book, or like I was joking about this with the new, like get a whiff of that. Like you just like smell, or like opening up a pack of Magic cards, like that, just that smell. Yeah. So say if you want stuff like that delivered right to your phone, wherever you're listening to podcasts, you got to go to patreon.com/boardsandswords. And all right, it's time to bury into some apples or whatever the terrain is, because we've got worms to talk about. So I'm assuming y'all were y'all the ones that reached out on this? Like, how did this come about?
I mean, we were kind of in lockdown, so the licensing shows had stopped, and there's like a licensing expo, and some of the conversations had all stopped. And then you've got that kind of funny period in 2020 where we'd had a meeting in November before at BLE, and it all stopped. And then that summer of 2020 where the lockdown was over before it came back again, and we just drove up to see them because they're a UK company, Team 17, just like 1 hour up the road from us. And so we'd started having a conversation, and then as you're always trapped at home and typing away, and there wasn't any other conversations, we kind of went up and saw them. And bizarrely, they'd actually kind of semi-designed a game, and so we played the game, and the conversation went from there. And then they've been busy, things got changed, games take time, deals, to get it done and over the line. So that's a kind of, then the lockdown came, so everything stopped. So then it came back again, and when did it get signed? Probably earlier this year. But we built it. Yeah, we built it in lockdown because we were playing it on Tabletop Simulator. So yeah, 2020, we'd had a pre-lockdown conversation in the window between between lockdowns, we went up and saw them, played the game, and then it was kind of a downhill process, but a slow downhill process. Sometimes you sign a lot, you kind of have the meeting and a month later it's signed, and other times it's a year, 2 years, and this was a year, 2 years. But we were definitely designing in the second lockdown because we were working with River Horse on it, and they were they built it all in Tabletop Simulator, and we'd got it there. And I think our contact left, a new person came in, and that was when we said, okay, let's get this done. We had one conversation, and he just kind of signed it earlier in the year. We met at the UK Toy Fair, and that was it, done. We've been working on it, honing it, sculpting it, and everything else since.
Nice. So I think one of the biggest, the immediate question that comes to mind is, okay, one of the things about Worms that is, if anybody that's played it, like the key element is that kind of destructible terrain and trying to like knock your friends off if you can't kill them directly. How is that being translated into the board game?
Okay, so the first thing, and this was what I couldn't get my head around when they said there's a board game, and I obviously played the game, loved the game. So I was thinking, how do you do it? The game is flat screen. It's all sideways. How are you do it on a board game? And they answered it for us. They just gone top down. So they just got over the top, and they'd done it with hexes. Now they had very small hexes on islands, and it was very, very complicated setup. Lots of dice rolling where creators went into the sea. So it was very true to their original game, but not a terribly satisfying game experience. There was bits of it that were lovely, but the biggest thing they solved was the hexes from the top down. And so what we've been doing since then is kind of applying what we know about games and rules and fun experiences on the tabletop. So when you sat around, if you're going to roll a dice, you want something to happen, and that something isn't, and your creator, your supply crate drops in the water. Well, that's no fun. I've rolled some dice. So they had it randomized, huge, big 100 grid, and you've got 8 across and 7 down. So there's kind of some looking up that was quite good fun, but then it plopped in the sea. So we've actually made the hexes bigger. So there's more stuff going on in each hex. You hop from one to the other. And what you've got to try and basically do is make sure you get out, having left a bomb in there, or get out and fire something back in. And the basic rules is all the worms have two wounds, so you've got to knock them down and then kill them. But you don't. You knock them down and then blow them into the square next door, which happens to be water. So then you drown them. Hurrah!
Nice.
So, yeah, all of that thing that you'd come to expect is exactly what's in there. And it's what we've been working is refining the mechanics to make that work. So it feels wormy. So it's quite hard for a direct shot. Although, if you get the direct gun that does what you need it to do, you can straight kill. But more often than not, you've got to do something that does something else. Get the blast off to get them thrown into the water.
Oh, as soon as you mentioned kind of the flatten with hexes, now I'm like, oh, okay, because that would be a whole lot easier for doing that. But it's going to have minis for the characters though, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we saw we had the picture with the big one that you guys showed off at UK Games Expo, and I feel like that's like the one real big draw is just seeing those minis alone.
They're just gorgeous. So we're literally now just playing with. We've got our 3D printers working, and we're printing them at 5 or 6 different sizes. And what we're looking for is that perfect sweet spot of. So the Luigi the sculptor has never had so much fun. I mean, every time one arrives, we're just like, no, oh God. Well, you can't do any better than that. And then the next one arrives, and it's even better. And there's, we've gone slightly mad. Do you need them all? No. Do you want them all? Hell yes. There is they've got and they start with the baseball bat and the girder and the Uzi. But by the exploding sheep and a holy hand grenade, oh yeah, they're all in there. So there's lots of character in the face and then in the art style and in the miniature themselves. They'll be good fun. And we're just playing to make them the kind of exact right size of practicality joy of the of what you're looking at, but actually gameplay, you're not knocking things over all the time, or there's not too much going on in each hex. So we're playing with the size of the hexes and the size of the minis, just to get it exactly feels right, sits right in your gaming table.
Right.
It's heavy enough that if you nudge it, doesn't fall over. And then they're going to have a little 20 mil bases, so you can color your team up.
Yeah, because you don't want them too small that you miss all the detail on them as well. That's
no.
awesome.
So we're going to make them as big as we possibly can, while still serving the function as a gaming piece.
Right.
And it's literally we're just printing them off between 100 and about 123%, and I'm pushing it for as hard as big as we can, and obviously everyone in operations and what they do. No, you don't need that. No, you don't need it. But yes,
you want it.
Yeah. I mean, like, heck, that's going to be I feel like that's going to be one of the big sellers at the Kickstarter, is just like stretch goals with different worms getting unlocked.
That's exactly what it is. And we may well do daily unlocks. So we're just going to say every day we're going to put something else in.
Right.
We started doing this in our last Dungeon Saga Origins, which is a kind of getting started in dungeon crawlers product. And we actually just had 14-day campaign, and we had 14 days of unlocks, and then we had a couple of stretch goals for things that were genuinely stretch goaly, like building the solo play app, which was obviously a big commitment from us, because we were going to have to put our software designer behind it and build all that stuff. So it was a £250,000 or dollar stretch goal. If we got to that, if we didn't get to that, if we got to 190, look, you'll get all the minis and we'll give you everything there. But we haven't made quite enough money to go and build the app. But actually, if we get to 250, then we've got our print run, we've got the numbers we need for the print run and the price break. So here's a 250. Let's do something cool over there. So I think maybe daily unlocks. You're just going to get a worm a day.
Keeps the doctor away.
Worm a day helps you work, rest, and play. So So we're gonna have a lot of fun. Obviously, tons of all the weapons. There'll be stretch goals, daily unlocks, whichever way the team decide to go with that. But there is, extra weapons, extra worms, how they come out, and the joy of the Kickstarter edition is your weapon stack deck is so big. We've played it 4 or 5 times, and you've still not seen weapons. They're in there, but they've not come out.
So the weapons are going to be cards. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and it just talks you. So you all start with a starting deck of cards. Your standard Uzi, Ninja Rope, girders, a few weapons. There's then one random in each. So there's everyone gets there's 4 of everything, and then a few where you just get 1. So you just draw 1 of those. So everyone has something a bit more sassy, but not OP for the first turn, so that your first turn is not always the same. And it's never the same anyway, because the oil drums are different, and the mines will be set up, and who you're next to and how you set it up. But even then, we just wanted to have a little bit of chaos in at the beginning. And then you've got your deck, and you basically go to the supply crate and pick a card. What's in the card? Play it. And you can literally turn it around in that turn. So very quickly you're going in, picking it up, using it. That's bouncing you to somewhere else, getting another one, or blowing someone away, or obviously having fun blowing up the supply crates that's right next to all of your opponents. So
nice. What about the maps? Because a lot of it's kind of like randomized and stuff when you're playing the game.
So when you set up, you get funny shaped pieces of hexes, and you can put them down as long as it's touching another one. Away you go. So you can end up with long, thin ones, all coming off the central spoke. Pack them all in, and we're playing with just giving you during a Kickstarter extra pieces of tiles that you can build up. So it'll never be the same, just because you couldn't even remember how to set it up, because you always just do something stupid with it every time you put it down. You think, "Aha! Here's a cunning plan, my lord. I'll put that down." And then it always invariably goes horribly wrong, or you go and get the team you've wanted, and you realise that you've, got them all in the wrong place, and oh bugger, so yeah, tiles, different shapes, different pieces, and as you put them down, it'll just build an entirely different map every time.
So you could just take the pieces and then just drop them on the table and then just line them together. Done.
Yeah, you probably could. Yeah, that's not how the very carefully worded script and rules tells you how to do it. But if you want to do it your way, I'm sure that will equally get you to the same place. Wind. There's a little wind C1 with a wind marker on it. Obviously, that plays a huge part of your grenades going exactly in the wrong direction invariably, and bouncing back on your own head or bouncing into your other tile. And the words are usually, well, as long as I don't roll a 6, I'll be fine.
And you roll a 6.
You rolling a 6, exactly. There's 7 chances it's not going to go into the wrong square. Damn it. So there's a 1 to 6. So you've got D12. 1 to 6 is the direction, because it's a hex base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the arrow, but then the arrow is pointing where the wind is. So there's 3 wind logos on there. So if you get that, so let's say it's pointing at 1, you've got a 4 in 12 chance, or a 1/3 chance that it's going towards 1, and then you've got a 3 in 12 chance, or a 1/4 chance that it lands where you actually put it. So 9 out of the 12 chances are it's going somewhere else.
Of course.
So so just so you know, every time you do something, you've got a 1 in 4 chance of 1 in 3 chance, 1 in 4, whatever. 1 in 4 chance of doing what it's supposed to do, and a 9 in 12 chance, or 1 in 3 in 4 chance it's doing something entirely and invariably exactly what you don't want it to do.
Nice.
Yeah, so that plays nicely. And then as you start putting craters down, when you get 3 craters in an island, it sinks. And now that's a water hex. So when you've blown up stuff enough, it starts to sink. Now you can repair them, I think, with the girders. Forgotten how they're playing now. They either repair craters, or they can get you from one place to the other without falling in the water. But
so you don't have the little isolated pieces of terrain that just sit there and float while you're just like barely staying on.
Going along. We build up. We've got some craters. You've got mines. You've got oil drums, and you've got supply crates. And the way you actually set up is quite good fun. We color code all of the worms into your colored teams. Everyone gets a mine, everyone gets a supply crate, and everyone gets an oil drum. And then you could put anything from the pool down in any order. You pick a piece up, you put it down, and you keep going at that. And after you've set up, you find out which worms color you're playing. So you've got this kind of trade-off between stitching someone up, but if you actually stitch them up too badly, that's the color you're going to get. So you've got kind of one eye on it, making it about fair, but that'll be funny, if you see there. And there's always more things than there are tiles, so you end up with 2 things in the same square, and that usually isn't a supply crate, or because no one ever gives supply crates away, so they go, right, well, I'll tell you, I'm going to put this one in with that. So then if someone else can get in there and nudge one out, there's a little nudge maneuver that just tips them. Oh, this X is full. Looks like you'll be off. Bye.
Phil, this has your name written all over it.
A little bit it does. Yeah, I'm digging this, man.
Yeah, great fun. It's I think you'll be playing a game in an hour, but I've never seen us. We have never played one game.
Right.
We play one, reset up, play again.
No, that wasn't right. Set that up again. We're gonna go again.
Yeah, cheat! God damn it! The bloody wind. And also you just want to see the weapons come out. It's just they're really fun. Everything you need's on the card. It just comes out. It does this, and it unlocks something, and it's very resonant of the computer game. So we are, we're very, very, very excited about it, and I think it's probably our most light-hearted game. Certainly, I mean, we've just done these roll and play, the Invincible dice game, and the Invincible. It's cards. It's a push your luck, Walking Dead and Invincible, but they're almost games between games. You know what I mean? They're not like a games night game. They're a down the pub drinking game, or
Yeah, that was
played. Or
that was one of our comments. Is Rissa Beetle says the Hellboy dice game is great, and they keep it in their van to play at restaurants.
Yeah, exactly. And we've just done Gen Con and San Diego Comic Con. So Skybound have taken some to San Diego, and we're taking it to Gen Con. And we've kind of got a pre-launch edition of Invincible and The Walking Dead. And they're just phenomenal games. I mean, if you're at Gen Con, come along and I'll have a game with you. And they are just real easy players, but push your luck. You just can't not. Oh, yeah, I'll take one more card. Shit. Because that's when it always goes wrong. They're lovely, but I would say they are like they have it in his car to play at restaurants and or who's buying the first round, or it's like a rock paper scissors kind of game.
Right.
A little bit more than that, but it's not. Whereas Worms is a games night game. You will, let's play Worms, let's take it out, let's do it. It's a 6 or 7 page rule book. It's about 16 pages, but it could be in 3. But we've laid it out and put pictures in it and animated it up. But it's the basic. The rules are very clear. They're nicely laid out. If ever you go, well, I wonder what happens if in this scenario, it's covered. It's laid out because it is PvP. And everyone quite quickly gets quite competitive with their desire to win. So
I don't know. So this also sounds like it could be a good everybody get wasted sort of game to play.
Absolutely. It's yes. Every time a worm dies, shot. So we are not recommending the taking of alcohol in the playing of the Worms game. But if you chose to do that,
right?
It's that kind of. It is that. And once someone knows how to play, once the owner of the game knows how to play, everybody will know how to play. Because the mechanics are so simple. You move, you do your card, and you draw a card and move on, or whatever. You pick up your supply. It's very, very straightforward. There's not a lot of rules to remember. There's just the only thing is you just do your things in the order you're supposed to do them. So you knock them down and then blast them out, and that's because you're probably going to blast them into the water. But if you don't, you just blast them into the next square so they're still alive, or the next hex. So it's just that kind of, but you need to know they're down, because then someone else will run up and go, hey, coming. So the whole point of knocking down, killing off is when there's 4 of you playing, or, in the Kickstarter tradition, 6 of you playing, you get combo kills going on. You get the blasted into the square. So where is your airstrike going? Of course, it's going into the square with 3 of them. And then you forget to roll wind incorrectly, and 1 in 144 chance, which is what the operations director did the other week, and managed to land the airstrike on himself. There was only 2 consecutive rolls that he could roll that would get it, and he did them both.
Well, I mean, that's just crucial. I mean, that's the epitome of Worms right there. It's like when you get that great attack, and then it just hits you in the face.
Yeah, correct. He had an airstrike. There was the line, any direction, and he had the wind with him. Because he planned on the wind. So quite often you might shoot to the left of where you want to be, or to the wind side of where you want to be, because the chances are if you're rolling 2 scatters, one of them's going to go with the wind. 1 in 4 chance. And his only bad roll was back towards him, which was a single 1 on a D12 twice. He dropped it far enough ahead, and guess what? Bang. Well, as long as I don't roll another 6, dunk. 5 half his own team with it. Oh, it was absolutely brilliant. Boy, did we laugh.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. And those are what we've purposefully designed in the game. We've absolutely designed it that thing will never happen. Yeah, okay. Yeah, absolutely it will. And it's all there. It's all done.
So so you guys are you gonna have this at Gen Con to show off to people next week?
Little bits. We'll have some of the worms. I'll have a few of those in my pocket. If you sidle up to me and say, "Show me your worm," I'll take my worm out of my pants and I'll put it in my hand and I'll show it to you. So, but you do have to say that, otherwise you don't get to see it or them. So yeah, we'll have some bits. I mean, we've got so much to show off at Gen Con anyway. We've got obviously the dice roll and play games. We've got massive Hellboy section being played. League of Infamy, which is the quasi co-op game that we've done, which is where you're all a bunch of mercenaries. You've been hired in the tavern to go and do dastardly deeds. But sometimes what you've got as your secret mission and what you're trying to achieve with the team are, how can we say, a little bit conflicted. So, we've got loads of fun games to demo and very board gamey stuff and orientated stuff. So I don't know if we're taking the big worm or not, but we will have some of those. We've got Umbrella Academy coming. That's just around the corner. That's a lovely board game that's going to be hitting just before season 4. So we will have them, but it's more for the ones that kind of, are fans that know us and love us and just want to see what the worms look like. We will have some worms, and we'll have that because there's other things we're going to be demoing through the weekend.
What about so is this going to be on Kickstarter, or are you going to use a different?
Yeah, no, we're gonna go Kickstarter. I think just simply because of the size of the audience. It's not. I think GameFound's great for heavy games. Really deep. It's got a GameFound. It's got a game audience, and we thought about it, and we love some of the functionality on GameFound, but just Kickstarter's the one that 27 million people use, and we think it's not super expensive. You can't spend $200. Well, you have to work hard if you want to spend $200 on it, and you have to buy multiple copies of things. It's not that kind of game. It's like $100, $110, and you're going to get everything. You're going to get all gameplays, upgraded pitches, extra dice, 5 and 6 player options. Starting with 20 worms or something, and then scaling up from there with all the extras and on. So nice big cool box of joy and loveliness. I think there's a couple of upgrade options for neoprene mats if you want to just have it all set out and laid out for a memoir.
Speaking Philip's language here with the neoprene mats.
I do like game mats, yeah.
I love a game mat too, and you take it out and everything goes in its place, and just kicking into a little bit of a hobby OCD. But so I think we think at Kickstarter 14-day. We've got a big lead in. We've had a lead in, as you've seen it, you saw it. Reveal at Expo. We're going to be going with Gen Con. We've got a kind of ramp up. So August 22nd, I think is scheduled. Certainly, mid-late August. Get it in, get it done, get it delivered for Gen Con next year.
Oh, okay. So you look okay. I was going to ask if you guys had a target, but yeah, for Gen Con next year, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, perfect. It'd be a lovely game to have there next year. Show it off. We'll have the retail edition there as well, which will be, just the very basic version, 4 worms, 4 times, the 4-player. So I really confident. Obviously, we've delivered 23 Kickstarters, so we kind of know what we're doing. Umbrella Academy's just about to go on the sea, so that'll be out with backers September. We've got a sci-fi as a kind of hardcore tabletop terrain Kickstarter that happened, which is basically terrain for sci-fi war games for our own Firefight, but also for 40k and for all that kind of stuff. And so we tooled that through the Kickstarter, which was great because it was a big expensive tool run to make everything done. That's nearly finished. And then Dungeon Saga Origins I spoke about earlier, which is your kind of dads and lads, nieces, nephews, daughters game of dungeon crawling. Really just a straightforward getting started. Heroes, barbarians, dwarfs, elf rangers, firing bows, taken from our Dungeon Saga range, and just kind of put out there as a $50 get started. So yeah, we're operationally we're sound for it. Final touches. We're going to see Team 17 tomorrow, so I'm going to go to bed in a minute and wake up in about 4 hours' time and drive across to Manchester. So we're seeing those just to get final sign-offs, show them the final sculpts. We've got them all sculpted for their approval process, and we haven't seen them since 2021, and there's some new faces there. So hopefully we're getting some sign-off videos. A lot of fun, exciting.
Awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait to see more. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
Worms is like one of those games that like it's just been around forever that you're kind of always like, I'm gonna play Worms, and so you just like, what's the latest version of Worms, and then go find it and start playing.
Yeah, and it does tap it, and literally no one I've said, "Oh, we've got the Worms license." Doesn't just do a kind of slightly under the breath giggle. They just go, "Worms." it just makes people giggle. It's like, yeah, I remember that was good. That was crazy fun. And I think from their starting point, and then the work that Jack's done with us, and the feedback we've put in there, I think we've kind of really captured the irreverence in the tabletop experience. We've not been too po-faced about this. Yeah, you want to win, but the fun you're having with your mates is far more important. But you still want to win.
Right.
And it's just got that lovely trade-off of when you're down to your last guy and you God damn it, get it out. I'm playing for that card that's gonna give me the win, and you can start seeing the end game coming. So yeah, the first turn, because there's so much on the board in the first turn. There's 4 worms per person. There's 4 mines, 4 supply crates, and 4 oil drums. Those first couple of turns, things start dying real quick.
Oh yeah, because everybody's so close.
Yeah, you're close. There's numbers with squares with 2 in, so I'm hitting that. There's people standing next to oil drums, so I'm going to hit that because that's going to set off another explosion, or I'm going to set the mine off and run out, and you've got it's a target-rich environment for the first couple of turns, and the carnage is high, and then you kind of get in the second phase where it's still quick, it's still dead easy, but it's a little bit thinner now. So now you can pick your slots and pick your fights, and you've got some more interesting weapons because you'll have been through the deck once or twice, and the supply traits are coming down. So it still doesn't last long though. It's fairly violent, fairly bloody. Exactly one. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, looks like Rusted Beetle in the chat is a big fan of Mantic. He's got a bunch of questions here. So how did you get other companies to start sending you models to add to the Firefight lines? Did you approach them or did they come to you?
We approached them actually. So we've got a game called Firefight. It's a very, very, very slick, easy to play sci-fi war game. So you're talking 40 minis plus a tank or 2, but you will be playing it set up and finished in 2 hours. Very like Kings of War. I'd say even slicker than Kings of War because it's a little bit faster and you get a bit more with the sci-fi, and we've taken it with D8s, which was good. So you've got a wider range of sweet spots on the killing. And what we've done over this summer is gone back to all of our vehicles and then gone, right, how do we make it so it's a 50% vehicle, 50% infantry, or even 60-40 in way to the vehicles game? Because I think that one of the loves that people have of sci-fis is getting flyers and tanks and anti-tanks on the gaming table. And the best one in the world, I don't think that other game does that terribly well. I think it leans to, it's a squad-based game with the odd vehicle or 2. Because if you get too many vehicles, it kind of breaks. So we've now designed kind of Firefight. We've cleaned up the core rule book, cleaned up the forces list. There was a few things when it first came out that just needed that. Go and play for a year and a half and let us incorporate all of your all of that feedback into an updated book. But then you don't want to just replace your rule book after a year. So we said, well, what else do people want? And I certainly want I want a brigade of tanks. I want 3 of them. And because there are 3, I want to do something more interesting than 3 times what individual tanks do. So they fight as a command group. Then as soon as you start putting things like that, you can have off-planetary bombardments. You can start having anti-tank weapons. You can start having, Nebelwerfers, rocket launchers firing in and cluster firing. And so the infantry become kind of what they become, which is they take the objectives and they hold the objectives and they put pressure on the battlefield, but actually the tanks, vehicles, flyers can really start having some fun and having a big impact. So we've launched that. So what I realized is while it's great, so we've taken our Forge Father tank, which has already got 2 or 3 turrets in there in the plastic kit, but we had more that never went on the plastic tool, so we've released those. We put Tank Commander, so you can have a machine gun guy up on the top, and done some of those kind of fun things. Command tanks, made an assault version where they can come out the front, so you've got a front. So we've done all that, but we realised that adding just resin bits to our existing range wasn't quite. So we loved the Warlord clone tank and the Archon tank. So we just approached them, just said, "Hey guys, look, you've paid a lot of money to make these plastic tools, and we're looking for more vehicles to go in our vehicle game. So can we buy them off you? Can we buy some sprues?" And we specifically put them in our universe. So the Archon tank looks a little bit old. Our sci-fi is quite clean, so we put it in the outer sphere, which is the older kit, the dated kit. So it's not a current like GCPS tier 1 tank. It's a tier 3. The Marauders buy it, they're mercenaries, so they buy cheaper kit and things like that. So we put that. The Enforcer clone and the actual Warlord one just looks fantastic for our Enforcers. Very slick, very sci-fi. So we just painted that up and put it in the army. And what was quite nice is because we were embedding it in our IP, it's not too much of a stretch. Whereas if we started bringing the miniatures in at this stage, we'd need backstories, and then are they Gates of Antares, or are they Firefight? They're the Warpath universe. Whereas actually a tank, once you build it and paint it in your army colours, it's your tank. It just fights the way it fights, and it has the rules for it. So yeah, we approached them. They were cool. They enjoyed the idea, and when you paid for a plastic tool, you want to run it and make a little bit of money back because they're expensive things. So
oh yeah,
good chat. And, hopefully more to come. Watch this space.
All right, next up, no plans for a Mantic night at Gen Con this year?
Don't know. I don't think so. I mean, we'll definitely let people know where we are on one of the nights. It's just quite hard to organise since the pandemic, where we can actually get our own space. We seem to have an absolute curse that whenever we hire, we bankrupt the restaurant. So we used to do the Colts Grill, that closed down. Then we moved to the Hard Rock Cafe or something around the corner, that closed down. So poor Pat kept finding these places, and we want it so that people can come along. And then we found a cafe bar, which was brilliant, but it was a long way away. So we had some great nights. So what we'll probably just do is say, listen, we're going to be here on this night. We'll be getting drunk. Feel free to come along and join us, and we'll be hanging around, and we may well have a few slides or a few videos and share them with our fans.
All right. He also said he picked up the Armada Essential set with the mat, tokens, and rule book, and I have ships from Vault. Is there anything else I need?
No, you should have everything you need there. So there's a tape measure. So what we've done is we have launched a 3D STL printing service. It's called the Mantic Vault. And we put, so for us, our core business is kind of plastics. But what we want to be concentrating on is, just getting new people to try our games. It's all about, the size of our audience and just growing that and making sure that it's a relatively easy, getting started, pick up an army or a mega army, get gluing it, or an ambush set. We've done these at $40, $45 or something, and you get 3 units. You can get playing because, you want to just get your soldiers glued together and get going, and having to do 100 figures before you can play a game can be quite intimidating. So we're kind of concentrating on lots of plastics, lots of recruitment. We've got a big global campaign coming up in September that starts with our global Clash of Kings. So 750 games guaranteed to be played. And as always with Kings of War, if the goodies win, this happens. If the baddies win, that happens. And then the world changes, the map changes. If you are playing for the baddies and you get the baddies to win, then bad things happen to the world. And so, we have this kind of narrative. We want to be concentrating on those things. Resin for us at the moment it's great. It's been good, but it's hard work. We have to glue it, cast it, bag it, ship it. So we've actually put some of our resin range up on the vaults and said, look, it's hard for us to make, ship, not get damaged, not get broke. If you can print it at home, knock yourselves out.
Right.
And one of the games we put up there was Armada. So the Essential set gave you the neoprene mat, so you're right back in there, with a bit of neoprene, and then the rule book, which gave you all the tokens, and then you can go and print your ships. You can actually get the STLs of the ships, print those, and then now you've got the PDF cards. I think the PDF cards have just gone up, so I don't know who asking that, but the STL printed off cards, and then that's your reference for the ship. So no, you should have everything you need to play. Let us know what you think.
Asking if our Reb's going to get added to the vault, and if so, when?
Don't know what to do with the Rebs. We're just talking about 2024. They will come out somehow, some ways in 2024. But let's just we just need to work out whether there's a plastic kit that we could do, or what. On the agenda, go Rebs.
And then last one I'm going to say here is, what's the roadmap for Warpath 2nd Edition now that Firefight is rolling out?
I would be watching our blogs probably sometime next week, just before Gen Con. We might have a rule book written and we don't quite know what to do with it. So so we're going to go and ask people if they want us to make what we've made. So we've been working on something about a year. And some other companies kind of done something similar, and we can't afford to do something and it be a flop. So we need to kind of talk to our audience and say, guys, what do you want us to do with this? We've got the rules here. These are our thoughts about what we'd make. Tell us if you want us to make it or not. So watch this space, because we're very excited. We've been working on something for over a year with Alessio and Matt, and we've got a video blog and a blog coming out about it. And then we're going to need some feedback from our fans.
All right. Well, finish up this episode. I've got a tiny little game show, and we'll see how well this works. But last week we played a game. There's a game show called actually, and I decided to make my own version for Worms. So what I'm going to do here, and specifically, I'm going to be talking about the weapons in Worms. So I'm going to read a statement. Something about that statement is wrong, and you need to tell me what's wrong about that statement.
Okay, let's try.
So to start off, we have the Holy Hand Grenade. The Holy Hand Grenade is a weapon that has been in the series since the first Worms game in 1995. It's special because it has to come to a complete stop and its countdown go to 0 before it explodes.
I don't think it was in the first. I'm not sure if it was in the 1995 version. For some reason, I think it was the second version.
That is correct. It did not appear until the 1997 expansion, Worms: The Direct Cut, or the Director's Cut. It was like the last expansion for the first game.
Okay, there we go.
All right.
Boom.
All right, next up, the Concrete Donkey. Concrete Donkey is one of the largest and most powerful weapons in the Worms series. In fact, the only way to avoid being hit is to be underground so that you aren't smashed beneath it.
I thought the Concrete Donkey hits, blows up, keeps going down, and actually goes all the way through the map.
This man knows his Worms. Yes, it continues to smash through terrain until it reaches water at the bottom.
And it may well fight the same way in our game. If there is a Concrete Donkey, who knows?
All right, and then we've got the sheep. The sheep is an exploding animal that has spawned several other different weapons, like the Mega Sheep, Sheep on a Rope, and the Sheep Launcher.
Has it spawned other weapons?
Yes, there have been weapons that have been spawned.
Okay, but it's not all three of them, I'm guessing.
Philip, you got any guesses?
A lot of them.
I'm
Give
gonna
me the list again. Give me the list again.
Mega Sheep, Sheep on a Rope, and the Sheep Launcher.
I mean, I want there to be a sheep launcher because it's just funny. But Mega Sheep, I don't know. You stumped me with this one.
All right. So, you've stumbled. It is right. One of those three isn't an actual thing.
Right.
So Ronnie, what's your guess?
My guess is sheep launcher.
All right. Philip, what do you think?
I think Sheep on a Rope is the one that doesn't actually exist.
You're both wrong. It was Mega Sheep.
Mega Sheep. I was going to say Mega Sheep.
In the game, it's Super Sheep. The Super Sheep is a thing. So super sheep,
Right.
sheep on a rope, and sheep launcher are all actual weapons that spawn.
Excellent. Either we've not put the sheep launcher in there, or I've not come across it yet. Because I told you we hadn't had other cards. So
Because there's
when I'm
that
in the
many.
car
There's
tomorrow,
that many
I'm gonna ask.
cards. All right,
Yeah,
last one.
and there is. Yeah, because there is. The sheep is definitely a gold card, which is the mega weapon. So there we are. Right.
All right, last one. In Worms Armageddon, there's a cheat that you can unlock that upgrades the normal banana bomb into a super banana bomb.
And there's something untrue about that.
Mm-hmm. This one's the last one. That's why it's the hardest one.
Right.
It's
gonna
not
say-
in Worms Armageddon.
Nope, that part is true. It's in Worms
Oh, that
Armageddon.
part's true. Okay.
Is it upgraded to something other than what you said?
Yes, essentially. So the way it works is the cheat tells you that it upgrades the banana bomb into a super banana bomb, but it doesn't actually do that in the game. What it actually does is makes them shoot out 8 banana shards that do the maximum 100 damage each.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a roundabout thing, because it's in the game it tells you, the cheat tells you it does what I said originally, but that's
But
not
it
what
doesn't actually
actually
do
do that in the game.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it does something different. I remember that one. Excellent. There we are.
Also,
Excellent. That was very good fun.
there
Well
was a suggestion in the chat to throw back to the original Worms game that there needs to be a pixelated worm mini.
done. Oh, I have actually asked. Well, there is. It's hard to do something that pixelated and it looked good.
Yeah.
The idea is genius, but the actual pulling it off, because
You just
We'll
need to have somebody paint it pixelated.
yeah,
I feel like
that's
that-
where you end up
I
getting
think
to,
that's what
like,
you
you're just
do.
gonna 8-bit and 16-bit, there
Yeah.
you go knock it out. And because the minis are just so filled with charm, every time you just want to give it a bazooka, give it a top hard hat and girder, and
Yeah.
there's some real fun ones that are going to get unveiled, and stretch goals or daily unlocks, I don't know, but they are just beautiful. Just beautiful.
Also, Rustabita wants to know, did someone steal your hat?
Yeah, I need to pull some more. I got very wet the other day, but I've been holding on to them these days. There will be. I'm sure it won't make it back from Gen Con.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ronnie, for coming on to the show. For more information and to find out more stuff about Worms or any of the other Mantic Games, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, I think if you are at Gen Con, come see us, booth 633. Just right up in the middle. We'll be there. We'll have a lovely stand. Come and say hello. Love to see you. And if not, come to manticgames.com, where you can find out more about all of the things we've talked about. And more.
And that's been our show, everybody. We want to thank Ronnie for joining us all the way from England. If you want to know when we're going to be live, check out boardsandswords.com/live. That's got the links to all of our streaming channels, plus the schedule for when we are going to be live.
Awesome. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember, we love feedback. Email us feedback@boardsandswords.com. You can also find us on Facebook @BoardsandSwordsPod or on Instagram @BoardsandSwordsChris. And boardsandswords.com for links to everything else like our Patreon. Check it out to help support the show, and we'll be back in another 2 weeks. Actually, we won't be live in 2 weeks. That's a fib. We'll have a show in 2 weeks, but that's literally the Monday after Gen Con. So I will be busy assembling the Gen Con episode where I will be getting everybody or a bunch of interviews and stuff on the scene and taking out a bunch of stuff. So, but boardsandswords.com/live has everything. In the meantime, remember that every gamer has a story, and this one's filled with worms.
They make a pill for that.
All right. I'm going to stop
Is that
this.
it?